Have you heard Ukrainian president asking his soldiers to give up fighting against Russia? Or Mark Zuckerberg joke over the user's stolen data? Or did you catch Jon Snow's apology for the disappointing end to Game of Thrones? Well, if your answer to any of my questions is yes, you have been the victim of deepfake. If you're already startled, I have much more in tonight's cover story, but let me first explain what deepfake is. The technique is a fairly new concept. It is basically a 21st century version of photoshopping. The tech can use anyone's face and voice to create fake events, hence the name deepfake. With the help of artificial intelligence, it can make you say or do anything the creator wants. As spooky as it sounds already, it is not just for Instagram Reels and WhatsApp forwards. Artificial intelligence is actually redefining the proverb, seeing is believing. Chatbots are spouting falsehoods. Face-swapping apps are crafting pornographic videos. Cloned voice being used in election campaigns. It is like a misinformation super spreader. The issue does not end there. The system is skewed. There are more deepfake creators than detectors. Now, before the technology was expensive, but since then, there are now cheaper versions available. The crisis has gotten out of control. With no barriers unless identified and taken down, it is a cause for global concern. From misuse and identity theft, financial fraud, to ruin reputations, a Eurasia group has called the AI tool a weapon of mass destruction. Now, the Europol has called it an information apocalypse, which is the future threat. Basically, a scenario where people are unable to distinguish fact from fiction. So what are countries doing to avert this apocalypse? China has done two things. One, ask deepfake services to get the real identities of their users. Two, every content should be clearly tagged as fake. The United States has called for a task force monitoring the technology. The European Union is still locked in its heated discussions over the AI Act. Now, there is another side to the story as well. Activists say that regulations could kill innovation. Many feel that artificial intelligence helps in creativity, and we agree. But we ask, where's the red line? Is there room for creativity when the biggest threat facing our digital world is fake news? Now, for more on this story, we are being joined by Adrian Mars, who is a tech journalist and a broadcaster. Thanks for being with us, Adrian. Now, what exactly is deepfake, and what are the dangers of this kind of AI?
Well, these are essentially videos where you take a head from one video and the computer builds a 3D model of that head and works out where the lips are and the eyes are, and then transfers it onto, replaces the head in another video. So it looks like original footage. So yeah, you know, these are used to create fake porn videos, as you say. You know, Ukraine fake speeches you know, from presidents and the like. There's two ways to detect them. One is just by looking. So there's MIT have put out a good series of sort of 8 steps. You know, pay attention to the face, particularly the cheeks and the forehead. Is the skin too smooth or too wrinkly? Are the eyebrows and the eyes, do the shadows appropriately move and glare on glasses appropriately move? Often the lighting doesn't quite match the scene. You know, look at their facial hair. Does it look real? Often it's kind of smoothed and airbrushed. Once you get the hang of these things, you can start detect them yourselves. And there's a test you can do. If you type detect fakes MIT into a search engine, you can do a multiple choice test where half of them are fakes and half aren't, and train your brain a little bit to spot these things. And there's huge amounts of software out there There's been various programming competitions to actually create programs to detect these things, and they're up to about sort of 96% accuracy, which isn't enough to tag these things as you upload them to places like YouTube. Imagine if 4% of YouTube videos were wrongly tagged as deepfakes. It would cause enormous problems, but it's still incredibly useful, and you can submit videos to these sort of programs online to check. So it's a mixture of two things to deal with this. One is user education, and we've been used to manipulated photos for years, and we often have a distrust of an incredible or surprising photo. But that's not to say that Photoshop photos don't already sort of wreak a certain amount of havoc from time to time. But deepfakes are very new. People aren't so used to questioning videos, so that's partly user education and partly the use of software tools. And as always with these things, it's a battle between the people producing the tools and the quality of the deepfake videos, which are gradually getting better and better. So one of the ways a piece of software is used to detect it, for example, is to spot things that humans don't see, which is the very subtle changes as the heartbeats of the colouring of the face, as the capillaries change colour from breathing in and out. So these things are detectable by software, but, these things are also then countered by the deepfake people, and, they will get better and better and better. And inevitably, it's more about learning, as with all things internet, to understand and your source and work out which sources are trustworthy and which ones aren't. And that's partly about education and critical thinking and a whole set of skills which we need to understand the whole media landscape, whether it's reading from a newspaper and understanding what sort of angle the newspaper is coming from and how trustworthy they are, right up to sort of, doing research on the internet. These are the skills that should be taught in schools, and they're certainly taught in universities.
Absolutely, Adrian. And what can or should governments be doing to avert this kind of weapon of mass disruption?
Well, there are a whole number of things. So you need laws, for example, against these things being used to target individuals in by faking pornography, for example. So the law in many territories hasn't caught up with this because it's not a video of the person. It might be a libel because this person didn't commit this sexual act. And the video claims it does and fakes it, but it may not. In a lot of places, it's not a criminal act because they're not posting a video of the person doing this. So obviously, in those sort of cases, criminal law often is way behind this sort of technology that was never thought of when it was created. Yeah. You can also, of course, compel social media companies to be more responsible, that once deepfakes have been identified to them, they shouldn't be promoting it, they should be taking it down, or at least saying this is a fake and making it very obvious. But if you take that too far, then if you find them too heavily for getting it wrong, then you end up with lots of quite legitimate content taken down. And as you said, China is insisting on user verification. Right. Well, of course, that also means that it's very difficult to be a dissident and very difficult to anonymously bring things to the attention, particularly in a totalitarian regime. So there are difficult balances with all of these sort of areas.
Absolutely. Adrian, thank you very much for your analysis and input there.
Pleasure. Always good to be here.
We are now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.